Live NFL trivia every Tuesday night on Twitch at 9 p.m. Eastern. Come show off your football knowledge and have a chance to win cash prizes. Check the link in the description to find out more. And now, on with our feature presentation. Terry Bradshaw is one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. He was a critical part of the iconic Pittsburgh Steelers dynasty in the 1970s, when they won 4 Super Bowls in a 6-year stretch. He led the league in passing touchdowns twice. He made 3 Pro Bowls. He was named the MVP of the league in 1978. He was named the MVP of 2 Super Bowls. There's a reason that he's sitting in the Pro Football Hall of Fame, forever enshrined in canon. And there were many good games that Bradshaw had, from his 4-touchdown performance at Super Bowl 13 to his 1975 game against the Browns, where he finished with the illustrious 158.3 passer rating. But when you play in the league for close to a decade and a half, you're bound to have a stinker every now and then. And in 1982, Bradshaw had a stinker unlike anything else. In the middle of an otherwise great season where he led the league in touchdown passes, he put together a game that was not only easily the worst of his career, but is a serious contender for the worst game by any quarterback of all time. This is the story behind the worst game of Terry Bradshaw's career. Before I talk about the game, we need some context as to how Bradshaw was playing that season, and why this performance was nothing short of shocking. In 1982, even though the Steelers dynasty was looking like it was coming to an end, Bradshaw wasn't showing any signs of slowing down. Prior to the strike, he was looking like the best quarterback in all of football. In Week 1 against the Cowboys, the Steelers won 36-28, as Bradshaw threw for 3 touchdowns and no interceptions while posting a passer rating of 125. And in Week 2 against the Bengals, he followed it up with a 3-touchdown, no interception performance while throwing for 298 yards and a passer rating of 113. He threw the game-winning touchdown pass in overtime that game as well. I talked a lot about this game in a previous video of mine, which you can check out by clicking the card in the upper right corner. And even after the strike stopped play for 2 months, Bradshaw was still picking up right where he left off. He threw 3 touchdown passes against the Houston Oilers. He threw 3 touchdown passes against the Kansas City Chiefs. In his first 5 games, Bradshaw threw 3 touchdown passes in 4 of them. Throwing 3 or more touchdown passes 4 times in a 5-game stretch is impressive even by today's standards. And now, the goal was to keep that momentum going. In their way for their 6th game was Chuck Knox and the Buffalo Bills. Buffalo was sitting at 3-2, having one of the strongest defenses in the league. Buffalo had allowed just 73 points through their first 5 games, coming out to an average of 14.6 points per game. Not only was that the top total in the AFC, but it was the 2nd best total in the league, only behind the New Orleans Saints at 71 points allowed. They shut out the Baltimore Colts while holding them to 6 first downs. They didn't allow a touchdown against the Kansas City Chiefs or Miami Dolphins, holding both of them to 3 field goals each. You had one of the top offenses in football and the likely MVP frontrunner in Terry Bradshaw squaring off against one of the top defenses in football. And on this cold day at Rich Stadium, on December 12, 1982, the defense won handily. Now obviously, one thing you'll notice right away is the weather conditions. They're not exactly ideal for quarterbacks. Tons of snow, 12-mile-per-hour winds, and a 20-degree day with a wind chill making it just 8 degrees. Everyone's hands are frozen. But this is Terry Bradshaw we're talking about here. Snow hasn't stopped him before. One of the best games he had as a pro came 4 years before in 1978 against the Baltimore Colts in the snow. Despite the awful weather conditions, and despite wind that was actually worse than what we saw in Buffalo on this day, Pittsburgh won it 35-13, with Bradshaw throwing for 3 touchdown passes and 240 yards, while posting a passer rating of 105.1. Maybe the most iconic photo of Bradshaw ever comes from that snow game. Snow hasn't stopped Bradshaw before, but man did it stop him today. The Steelers get the ball to start the game. His first throw is not a good one, and it's a sign of things to come. Not only is this absolutely risky from the perspective of a pick 6, but even if Franco Harris catches this ball, you're still going to lose yards. His second throw was even worse, as he looks deep down the field and gets picked off by Bill Simpson. Throwing down the middle of the field in triple coverage is not exactly what I call a smart decision. Alright, bad start to the game, but Bradshaw can bounce back from this, right? Not quite. Second drive, and the Steelers go 3 and out after Bradshaw gets sacked. He tried to step up in the pocket and just couldn't escape the pressure of the eventual first-team All-Pro lineman Fred Smerlas. Third drive, and it's more of the same. The 35-year-old defensive end Sherman White gets in there and absolutely drills Bradshaw down to the ground. Once again, Pittsburgh goes 3 and out. Fourth drive, and finally, Bradshaw completes the pass. The problem? It was 3rd and 10. This short pass isn't going to do anything. The first quarter was done, and it's about to get a whole lot uglier. Fifth drive with the Steelers now trailing 7-0, And once again, they go 3 and out. Even though the snow had stopped falling down, it didn't change anything. Bradshaw was still struggling to hit anyone, and this wobbler of a duck was no exception. 6th drive with the Steelers now down 10-0, and Bradshaw actually did it. He completed another pass. Granted, anyone could have completed this screen pass to Franco Harris, and granted it lost 3 yards, but it's something. The very next play, and Bradshaw fumbles. It's a turnover with the Bills recovering deep in the red zone. 7th drive, and this is just getting ridiculous. Bradshaw gets sacked for the 4th time today, with Ben Williams coming in for the sack. Once again, they go 3 and out. At halftime, the Bills were up 10-0. Bradshaw was 2 for 8 for 3 yards. He had turned it over twice. The Steelers had less than 9 minutes of possession and 1 first down, which came on the first drive on the ground. It can't possibly get worse than this, right? As ugly as the first half was, prepare yourselves for an even uglier third quarter. Maybe things will change coming out of the halftime break. Not quite. The 8th drive doesn't start off any differently, as Bradshaw misses a wide-open John Stallworth. Should have been a nice easy completion, but instead it falls to the ground, well short of the intended target. After throwing another short pass intended for Jim Smith that is fortunately not an interception going for 6 the other way, the Steelers once again go 3 and out. The good news is that the Steelers don't go 3 and out on the 9th drive. The reason why? Because Bradshaw throws an interception on the very first play. He's looking for Stallworth and comes nowhere close whatsoever to hitting him. Charles Romes dives and makes the pick. At this point, Cliff Stout is warming up on the sideline. Bradshaw got benched, and even though Cliff Stout didn't do much better, as the Steelers still lost 13-0, at least they moved the ball somewhat with him under center. With Bradshaw under center, the numbers were absolutely laughable. Consider this, when Bradshaw was in the game, the Steelers did not cross midfield once. Bradshaw finished the game going 2 for 13 with 3 passing yards, 2 interceptions, 1 fumble, and 4 sacks. His passer rating was 0.0. I hope I don't have to explain to you that 0.0 is really, really bad. He completed just over 15% of his passes, with the 2 completions being a screen and a check down on 3rd down. Pittsburgh had minus 23 net passing yards with him in the game. In a game where he threw at least 3 passes, it was the fewest yards he's ever thrown for in a game. It was the worst passer rating of his career. It was the fewest completions he ever had in a game where he threw at least 3 passes. By all accounts, this game was historically terrible. And when you consider the fact that he was the leading candidate for the MVP at this point, that flew out the window after this game. All the talk in the post-game press conference was about what the heck happened to Bradshaw, and Bradshaw was understandably frustrated. He told Chuck Noll that he couldn't function. He said he was so inept that he felt like a fool, and called it the worst game he ever played, calling it a total embarrassment. While Bradshaw acknowledged that the weather was not good and his hands felt numb, he added that he wasn't making excuses, that he played in sloppier conditions, and that he just played really, really badly. Bradshaw added, "I just had problems. I just wasn't functioning well. I was in another world out there." Bradshaw continued his struggles the following week, where in a 10-9 loss to the Cleveland Browns, he threw 4 interceptions and completed just 30% of his passes, while posting a 12.1 passer rating. And though he would rebound with back-to-back wins and 2 touchdown performances to close the season off, Pittsburgh would lose in the first round to the San Diego Chargers, completely collapsing down the stretch. Terry Bradshaw finished the season as the league leader in passing touchdowns, but it was bittersweet, since it started off so well in the first half, and then completely faltered in the second. One thing is abundantly clear though. In the 185 games that Terry Bradshaw played over the course of his storied and illustrious NFL career, this one had to be easily the worst of them all. When you complete 2 passes for 3 yards, when you get benched after not crossing midfield and throwing 2 interceptions, and when you look completely and utterly helpless out there, it's tough to do much worse than that. Be sure to like this video, ring the notification bell, subscribe down below if you haven't already, as it helps the channel out a lot, and be sure to check out Twitch every Tuesday night at 9 p.m. Eastern for your chance to play NFL trivia and win cash prizes. Link in the description below. If you want to see videos like this condensed down to 60 seconds, then follow me on TikTok at JarroGator9 and subscribe to 60-Second NFL History on YouTube. Also, special thanks to all of our Patreon supporters who help with the channel. Your support is greatly appreciated. So you can become a patron and request future video topics in the description below.